Well, one of the things that we have updated in conjunction with Hedron is this thing we call Dromos, which is kind of a cool piece. In this case, this is the Dromos version 1. What we have here is Dromos version 2, which, like the old one, can be bolted onto a standard board like this. And this thing is really, if you look at the detail, it's actually a CNC machined piece of plywood with metal inserts that are set into it. And we've got a nice little brand on it there. And what you can do is basically bolt the Dromos onto that, which gives you a very versatile base for just about anything, including our jib. One of the cool things you can do with Dromos version 2 is remove the 100mm bowl. You can see we've got a 100mm ball configured on there. And you can actually rotate and drop this in. So now you get a bowl that's oriented and locked in this configuration. So you can see if you're going vertical, suddenly you have your tripod head pointing in the right direction. But with Dromos, what we really are kind of excited about is that we've taken these components, we've updated them, and we've now made it possible to actually mount this onto Hedron. So we'll go ahead and show you how Hedron mounts out to Dromos. If you remove the 100mm bowl, and we'll just set that aside, and we add in some other bits, specifically the vertical mount kit, I can convert this Dromos into a mounting system for Hedron. The question is, why would you do that? Because, as you may recall, you can just mount this slider right onto, say, a 100mm ball, throw it on a set of sticks and call it a day. But what if you want to run the counterbalance system, or what if you want to go vertical with the kit? So this is the key to do that. We're going to put this together and show you how it works in the horizontal and vertical configurations. This is a set of Manfrotto sticks with a 100mm bowl and Cinevate's 100mm ball. And I just take Dromos and plunk it on top like so, give the fastener a quick spin, and we are on. So there we have Dromos mounted very quickly, integrated into my sticks. It's pretty solid now. There's no movement, there's no flex anywhere because there's no tripod head. Some of you might be wondering, hey Dennis, why didn't you just put the slider right to the ball? And that is a good question, because you can very well do that with Hedron. But the reason we're showing Dromos, we're demonstrating this, is because if you were running the slider with its horizontal or vertical counterbalanced setups, you would want this. Why? Because there's going to be a weight traveling underneath. So if I have a 20-pound camera and I still want to stay on a set of sticks, perhaps I'm doing some vertical work and I'm also doing horizontal work, instead of reconfiguring the slider, we're just demonstrating here how you could have potentially a 20 or 25-pound camera outbound, where typically you'd be worried about your sticks or some flex in the system showing up. This weight is basically traveling, and it's a very simple kit. You basically add on the car here and your desired weights. The nice thing about having this balance is I can actually do things you would never do, which is loosen this with the weight outbound, and you can see it's not falling over, which I think is cool. But you can see, I mean, you would never normally do this, is loosen off the center mount and take your hands off it. But this is the cool thing about counterbalancing things. And you can see here, if we get that out of the way, just how our standard accessory mount works. And there's our lock block, because our lock block is really a clever solution to stack 3 or 4 cables on and manage them so they're A, out of frame, and B, not getting tangled up on anything. So there you have it. We have basically Hedron in its full counterbalanced motion control / time-lapse coolness with a little bit of Dromos added in for some spice. Finally, in the Dromos setups, we've got our vertical plate in place, and we're going to go ahead and just drop it onto the 100mm bowl here. And I just tighten that on, and voila, I have a slider that's now running in vertical mode. And again, you'll see in the video and in the time-lapse bits, we've got a weight running through here. If I just really wanted to quick and dirty do a vertical shot without the help of a counterbalance, I could do it right now. One of the challenges that you're going to experience if you're trying to do vertical time-lapse, which you don't see a ton of, it's something we've really thought about with Hedron. And you can see we've made it possible with our counterbalance system, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment, to use a motor, the same motor that we use for horizontal loads, we're using for vertical loads. And technically you could go up to about 25 pounds of camera without spending a lot of money on a big expensive motor. So we just have one motor basically for the motion control system. And what I'm showing you here is Hedron in its vertical mode with our Dromos in its vertical mode, which makes it really simple to basically set up a shot like this on a standard set of sticks. So one of the challenges we always have with a vertical shot is how do you get the camera pointing in the right direction? And there's a couple different ways you can do it. In the shoot, in the car shoot, we actually used Dromos set up in this orientation. Normally Dromos with our 100mm bowl is set up like this, but we were setting it up like this. And we had basically a Scarlett camera and a head, and we had Dromos attached to the Hedron top plate. But for a smaller camera rig, you may not want to use all that gear, and we'll just look at the very simplest solution with just a ball head. And if you want to go vertical, that's going to be the easiest way to do it. Your typical ball head, you know, you turn it 90 degrees, and you put this on our Hedron top plate, and there's your camera, 90 degrees. It's an easy way to mount a camera without a lot of hardware. On this particular rig, we're using a really handy little piece of kit, which is the Manfrotto 438. It's just a little ball leveler. It's got a 3/8 thread, and if you loosen off the clamp on the side and you have a head on here, you can actually level it. So it's kind of like a half ball solution, and what's really cool is we've just put this on its side, and because you can adjust it, you can turn or you can rotate. So in this case, we can put our cage, which is just attached directly to the side of this thing. So if I want to reposition the cage, I can loosen, and you'll see what's going to happen here. Suddenly I can rotate and I can adjust for height. So it's a really simple, light, relatively light piece of kit. It's great for this type of application. So our cage is kind of already designed for this, and you could quick release the camera out of here if you needed to, but that's a little vertical setup. So I'm going to go ahead and engage that, and you'll see I'll be able to move this thing now. And you can see, and if I let go of this thing with some dampening engaged, it's just going to come to a nice little gradual stop. And let's take the camera down, and you'll see the weights come into play here. And the whole point of doing all this is go vertical, add some weight, and now you don't have to have a very powerful motor to handle this. It's much like an elevator. And if you happen to be trying to get a nice controlled vertical shot in the field and you don't have the motion control, you can just use the flywheel. And what the weights do is basically take a lot of the load. You're not lifting the camera. So there you have it. There's the vertical mode of Hedron.